There are so many different ways to determine whether a movie is good or bad, right? There's thumbs up, thumbs down. We're going all the way back to Siskel and Ebert. We've got Rotten Tomatoes is a huge one now. Is it rotten? Is it fresh? Is it certified fresh? We've got the box office. How much money is this movie making? IMDb tracks scores. Now Letterboxd is taken off and is all over the place. And they're all, pretty useless, if we're going to be completely honest, right? Because you can justify whatever you want by looking at these, really, if you want to get picky and get in there and manipulate what the results are, right? Oh, a movie that you liked is thumbs down. That's just because Siskel and Ebert are too up their own butts and they just don't know what's good anymore. Same goes for Rotten Tomatoes. When the critics like a movie, but the audiences don't. They just don't understand. They're too far away from what people really like. Maybe there's a movie that you didn't like that made a bunch of money at the box office. We turn it around. We're like, well, audiences are dumb and they'll go see whatever kind of trash the studios put out. And then with Letterboxd, it's like, I don't know. How much are people just putting down that they've seen movies, that they like movies because they want other people to think that they're smart or cool? But as flawed as all those other rankings and rating systems might be, I think the worst flex that I've ever seen a movie make is that it was number one on Netflix. With Rebel Moon Part 2 coming out, I see people being like, oh, see, it doesn't matter what people think. Look at it, it's number one on Netflix. Like that actually means something. I mean, for starters, if a movie is a Netflix original, it's probably going to be number one on Netflix. And why is that? Because it's going to be all over Netflix's main page. And it's going to probably autoplay even if you're not careful, if you sit there for too long. And what does it even mean to be number one on Netflix? It's such a weird, nebulous thing. It's how much of the movie did someone have to watch? If it autoplays from another show, does that count as a view? There's really just too many questions with it. And that's not even taking into account the fact that, being number one on Netflix doesn't mean that anyone actually remembers your movie 5 months later. For instance, have you ever heard of these movies? Do you remember any of these movies? Love at First Sight, Reptile, Best Christmas Ever, Family Switch. All of these movies were number one on Netflix. And I guarantee that even if you watched the movie and even if you liked the movie, you don't remember it. You do not remember what this movie is. Now, of course, sometimes you go on to Netflix and you see number one on there is some movie you've actually seen before, but it's always 6 months after it's come out on digital and just finally it's available on Netflix. So people who only have Netflix are going to watch it because they've been wanting to watch it for a long time. Now, unfortunately, this whole ranking and rating systems and recommendations is not something where there's a real answer on how to deal with it. Those numbers are going to be out there. People are going to be able to make whatever ridiculous argument they want from it. And it's just something we're going to have to deal with. And so if we look at all of these different rating systems, it's okay, if we can't use any of them to actually figure out, what is going to be worth watching, what do we do? How do I actually try to find something that I might actually like? And honestly, it just requires a little more work than most people are willing to put into things. You just have to actually try to find critics who like the same kind of things you do. You actually have to go onto Rotten Tomatoes and not just look at the number, but look at the reviews after you watch a movie and say okay, well, who kind of agreed with what I thought of it? And then maybe look in to see what other movies they like. And maybe if it's something where you're starting to like a lot of the same movies, hey, maybe that's somebody you can listen to beforehand. Or even looking into people who disagree with you and seeing what kind of movies they like. Maybe you're going to want to stay away from those ones. So as you're doing that and building out your list of critics you care about and critics you don't care about, and just be careful, right? Don't fall into those traps, especially on Netflix, where it's just yeah, this is the number one movie. Everybody else is watching it. And that doesn't mean that it's any good. If you actually want a real recommendation for a movie, let me hit you up with one, right? Why don't you go over to Tubi and watch Paddington 2. It's available for free right now. Trust me, it'll be worth it. So what's the worst movie you've ever seen on Netflix? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. Thanks so much for stopping by. I'll see you next time. Until then, you take care. Bye.